Welcome to the Bookies Plus weekly betting show where you'll get free picks for week 7 from 4 of our gambling experts. You can also find our free books at bookies.com/picks. Not only do we have free NFL picks, but we got you covered for just about any sport you like to wager on. Don't forget, we'll have a new episode of the show every Wednesday for the remainder of the NFL season. Now, this week we'll have picks from Bill Speros, the senior betting analyst for bookies.com. We have Adam, the ATM Thompson, over 60% on his NFL picks over the last 3 years. We got Nick the Whale Whalen, been in the industry for over a decade, NFL, NBA, works for RotoWire, also does spots on VSiN and DraftKings as a guest analyst, and I'm Jim Coventry. All right, let's get to the picks. We're going to have a little disagreement here. We're going to start out Bill Speros. Tell us about the Chiefs and why you like them at +1 against the 49ers.
Well, the easy answer is Patrick Mahomes is 12-1-1 as an underdog. Much in the same way he was an underdog in the Super Bowl in which I bet the under the Chiefs and the Chiefs money line. That's what you call a triple play or a trifecta in the horse racing vernacular. I know eventually he's going to lose again as an underdog. Happened last time because he was playing Tom Brady. But aside from that, the Chiefs defense has really played well. They're carrying the team. We know that. The 49ers sort of put it together against Seattle. They scored a lot of junk points late in that game. I just see this game going pretty much the same way as the Super Bowl, where the Chiefs defense keeps it close and the 49ers allow Mahomes to pull it out. Like I said, he's not facing Tom Brady. He's facing Brock Garoppolo, a hybrid of two mediocre quarterbacks who have blown fourth quarter leads in Super Bowls. So against the same team. So I gotta say, I just like the Chiefs here. All the trend lines are pointing in the directions. They've covered in 4 straight against this team. They've won 11 straight. You're getting positive money on straight up. Taylor Swift will be there. Roger Goodell wants him some T Swift in the Super Bowl. I'm not going against the tides here. I'm just going with the flow.
Bill, I'm going to pile on here because I'm also on the Chiefs +1. And Andy Reid, the man wants to pass at all costs until he doesn't have any wide receivers left. So I was stunned in the Monday night game. I was expecting 2 and 3 tight end set. He rolled out 4 on a number of plays. And in today's NFL, the secondary and the linebackers, they're lighter than ever because they got to defend the pass in a pass-heavy league. When you're putting 3 and 4 tight ends on the field, we are just seeing a mauling. You can't do anything to stop the run game. So Kareem Hunt, who was washed last year, looks like Superman because they have 9 guys at times going downhill. Good luck blocking that. And the 49ers, they're a name against the defense. They are not a good run defense this year. They've lost a lot of infrastructure on that defense, and this is a defense you can attack on the ground. And then the minute you send too many bodies, well, Mahomes will find a tight end leaking out. The rejuvenated Juju Smith-Schuster. So I just don't think there's a world where a defense is going to be able to slow this team down no matter how they do it. So, yeah, I'm on them as well. Now, Adam Thompson, you're going the other way. Tell us why you like the Niners.
You make some good points, and they've won 4 in a row over the Niners. Reed just kind of has Shanahan's number, but as much as I love Patrick Mahomes, and he's almost unbettable against, and I've burned myself every time I've ever picked against him. This offense, it's still missing its top running back. It's still missing its wide receiver. Travis Kelce starting to look his age. The Niners are top 6. I think they rank 6th or 6th against guarding tight ends, production against tight ends. Now, if you have 3 or 4 tight ends, it's kind of a different story, I guess. But they're very good against tight ends. And, they're 3 and 3, but 2 of their losses were just absolute choke jobs. I'm kind of betting on the potential of the Niners here to get up for this one. They should be 5-1 right now. They blew 2 games horribly. Their other 3 wins, they scored 30+ in all of them. And weren't even fully loaded. Now they're kind of fully loaded finally again, still without McCaffrey. But Jordan Mason's in that running crew is still been fine. I just think pound for pound, San Francisco needs to start showing up, and it needs to be kind of right now. So I'm kind of going with more potential. This Niners team needs to show up, and it needs to be here. It's nothing against Mahomes, but you're practically playing a money line pick at home with the Niners. So I was willing to take that bet for this week.
All right, Nick, can you give us a break from this 49ers Chiefs game? You're going to tell us about the Bengals game.
Yeah, I'm just staying away from Niners Chiefs. Two really good teams going at it. I know KC's won 11 in a row straight up. It feels like that has to end at some point, but you guys made a lot of great points on the KC side, so I am washing my hands of that one. Yeah, we're going to Cincinnati here, and the numbers jumped up a couple of points, partially in reaction to the Amari Cooper trade, partially due to some money coming in on Cincinnati. We bought low on the Bengals last week, maybe sold a little high on the Giants, did get lucky, that Chase Brown decided not to slide down on that final touchdown, but we'll take it. In terms of how I'm looking at this game, it's mostly a fade of Cleveland as opposed to, really liking the Cincinnati side. Cleveland did cover last week against the Eagles, got some help from a defensive touchdown, didn't love the play calling for Philly. They couldn't really run the ball. I don't think this is a great spot for Cincy to run the ball either, but I still don't think this is all that good of a Cleveland defense. I know they're getting healthier, but they still have injuries in the secondary. I think that's really where Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Andre Yoshivas, Jamar Chase, of course, those guys could get back on track this week. I mean, you forget, going into last week, the Bengals were the number 3 offense in the NFL, despite only having one victory. And we saw the Giants, kind of shut them down after the long Burrow touchdown early on. I think they get back on track this week. Cleveland, though, horrific on offense. Yet to score more than 18 points in any game. They also just traded away their only decent weapon in Amari Cooper. And, what kind of message does that send to the team? You're trying to pick yourself up off the mat. You're trying to generate some sort of positivity. And really your only productive weapon now is with the Buffalo Bills. So I don't see how this offense improves minus Amari Cooper. Do get Nick Chubb back this week. It's a nice story. I'm not sure how effective he's going to be. I'm not sure what the workload is going to be. And Cincinnati's defense has quietly looked a little bit better these last couple of weeks. Got some pieces back along the defensive line. That has helped a ton. Guys, the Browns are converting 19.2% of their third downs this season. That is the worst in the NFL by a mile. That is the worst number in NFL history as far as the StatHead database goes back. They play the exact same game every week. If Cincinnati could just get to, 25, 26 points, I think they cover this game. It's the number 7 offense against the number 32 offense. It's the number 4 pass offense against the number 32 pass offense.
I tell you what, after that Cooper trade, I wonder if Nick Chubb's going to pull a hamstring this week. We'll have to see what happens there. I don't know if I want to play in that game. All right, first whip around. We're going to change the second one up a little bit. Nick, I'm going to give you double duty here because I'm not going to make you be the one to pile on the opposite direction. Nick's going with the Jets. We got Bill and Adam on the Steelers. So we'll let you get the opening shot, Nick. Then we'll let Adam and Bill come in and chime in.
Yeah, the Jets burned me badly last week. I know Adam was on the Jets as well. Just did everything they could to ensure that they lost that game against Buffalo. But I think we did see some encouraging signs. The Jets made their usual just extremely Jets mistakes. They're missing field goals. They're not converting in the red zone. But they got Breece Hall going, both as a pass catcher and as a runner. I think that's one of the few positives you could take away from that game. Jets are on a 3-game straight-up losing streak. I think this is the bounce-back spot finally for this Jets team. Again, if they could do anything in the red zone, they can just punch in one of those either missed field goals or drives where they settled for field goals. They probably win that game against Buffalo. We probably feel a lot better about them. Obviously, you're bringing in Devontae Adams. Sounds like he is going to play this week. My handicap is not focused too much on that. I mean, it certainly doesn't hurt to bring Devontae Adams in, but I think we need to temper expectations as far as what that will look like in week 1. Obviously, Adams hasn't played in a few weeks due to that hamstring injury. It's really more so a fade of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and specifically the Steelers pivoting to Russell Wilson. They're coming off a win. They're 4-2. They're tied for first in the division. It just doesn't really make sense to me to make this move right now. I know they're not lighting up the scoreboard. I know a lot of those wins have come against bad teams. I get that, but I just don't think Russell Wilson's skill set at this point in his career matches the personnel around him on this Steelers team. Obviously, he's a better passer than Fields, but what do the Steelers have for pass catchers? It's George Pickens and everybody else. It might be the worst overall receiving core in the NFL outside of the Raiders at this point. I think they're going to miss Justin Fields' escapability. I think they're going to miss his ability to be used in design run situations. Steelers have big injuries on the offensive line right now. I think the Jets' defensive line bounces back. I mean, they had just a horrendous showing last week against Buffalo. I think this is the spot for the New York Jets to get right and win this game.
Before we flip over to Bill and then Adam, I will say the Jets used some motion. They used some play action. with Todd Downing, as whereas Hackett never used it, and it definitely helped. We'll see. Bill, give us the Steelers for this.
All right. First of all,
here we
we've been waiting for the Jets to turn it around since 1969. Last time we won a Super Bowl, Lyndon Johnson was president. You might not remember him. He's an old timer. Look, I'm not going to argue with Nick. He's a genius. All I'm going to say is, just when you think the Jets have everything that they want, they're going to find another way to screw up. I didn't expect the kicker to be missing 8-yard field goals the other night. That was an added bonus. But the Steelers are at home. Mike Tomlin, defense. Russell Wilson, Flip Wilson. I don't care who the quarterback is. The Steelers defense will do enough to shut down the Jets. It was amazing. Devontae Adams, it was like he had a spiritual healer. He was like the Undertaker, just getting up out of the casket once he got traded. I'm wondering if the Taco Bell is going with him to New York to get his own Taco Bell. The Jets can't win. By the way, against good teams, they're not good against good teams. They're 0-4 against the spread with teams with a winning record. And the Steelers. Mike Tomlin, I'm going to put my faith in Mike Tomlin. I'm going to put my faith in the Steelers defense. I'm going to put my faith in the Jets. Aaron Rodgers, he's run out of excuses, man. He got his coach. He got his binky. I'm just kind of wondering what he's going to be carping about next week if the Jets don't win this game, which is all the more reason why to root for Pittsburgh.
Adam, you got some leftovers here. Pounding on the Steelers a little bit.
Oh, tough act to follow. In Mike Tomlin we trust is kind of part of it. Russell Wilson gets a start. Last year he completed like 67% of his passes. I think he had 26-8 touchdown to interception ratio. So he wasn't as horrible in year 2 as he was in year 1 in Denver. The coaching, I'm sure, helped with that. Fields 4-2 as a starter, but 156 yards or less in 4 of those games. His completion percentage was, in the mid 50s. So I could see why they're making a change. I hope they'll incorporate some kind of Cordell Stewart-y, maybe hybrid something, get him in there just to mix it up, just to confuse, just to add something to that discombobulated coaching staff of the New York Jets as they try to figure out how exactly it's going to work. Aaron, Devontae Adams, obviously a great addition for them. Now they have 2 great receivers, but surprisingly, Aaron Rodgers has really struggled against the blitzes this year, against top 10 teams, blitzing teams, Vikings and Broncos. They lost both those games. They had 9 points against Denver. The Steelers are one of those top blitzing teams in the league again. The Steelers, their 2 losses have been each by a field goal. All their wins have been by a touchdown or more. So they're finding ways to win. They're being competitive. Russell Wilson could help with the pass game. We'll see. TBD. I'm kind of a little nervous about that. Nick, gave a lot of good reasons why, but I could see why they're making that move. Fields, the reason they weren't passing a lot is because Fields is just not a passer. He's not a throwing quarterback. Russell Wilson hopefully adds another dimension to that. We'll see, but at home, getting points, not many points, but still getting points, against a prove-it Jets team who has not proved it. I like Pittsburgh.
One more thing on that game, the left tackle, Tyron Smith, who the Jets had acquired in the offseason, he's healthy, but he doesn't look like he can block much anymore. He's been a real problem on that line. Just an interesting point I want to throw in that's causing Aaron Rodgers some extra duress that he's not causing on his own. My second game is the Seahawks +3 over the Falcons. Now, we all expected Seattle with Ryan Grubb and those weapons to come in with a great offense. They've gotten some garbage time, but overall, the few weeks that have just passed, again, late points, fine. But they were in trouble because teams pressured them. And when there was pressure, that offensive line is not good. And Geno Smith has not done well under pressure. Well, the good news, the Atlanta Falcons, they don't get any pressure. They brought in Matthew Judon. He's a nice piece to a pass rush, but he's not the pass rush. And therefore, Atlanta is not getting much ability to get to the quarterback. So we're going to see Geno Smith with time. And in this scenario, that's a great thing. Seattle should flirt with 30 points here. Now, certainly the Falcons should be able to move the ball well, and the Seahawks as well. But ultimately, the Seahawks are getting a field goal here. And the Seahawks have a decent chance of winning this one outright. But I think that the amount of points they're going to score, I think ultimately Atlanta falls a little short. And if Atlanta just nips them, it's not going to be by a field goal. So give me the Seahawks +3. All right, last time around this one, Nick, we're going to go to you because you have the Ravens on the spread. And then Bill's going to talk about the over and under on this game.
Yeah, I like Baltimore here. Going on the road to Tampa Bay, 3.5 is the number. Totals up at 48.5, essentially across the board right now. And, on the surface, this could be a tricky spot for Baltimore. I will acknowledge that, coming off a big home win over the Commanders, which is still just kind of crazy for me to think that that's a marquee game, playing the Washington Commanders. That has not happened in my entire life, that the Commanders have been in a spot like that. But I was impressed, both on the Washington side and the Baltimore side to take care of business in that game. I'm a believer in Washington, and I think that's a quality win by a touchdown by Baltimore. I could see the Ravens getting tripped up here early. I don't think this is going to be a runaway spot, but the Bucs are a team that, despite their ability to put up points specifically through the air, they're also really a mistake-prone team, right? We saw them get out to a 17-0 lead last week over a depleted Saints team that has injuries everywhere. They're on, a rookie quarterback who's never played in the NFL before, and you let up 27 points in the second quarter alone. Now, you can get away with that when you're going up against Spencer Rattler and that team because they couldn't stop anybody in the second half, but you can't make those kind of mistakes. You can't throw 3 interceptions on 4 possessions. You can't give up punt returns against a team like Baltimore. So I think this is a level up in competition for Tampa. This is also a team that gave up over 500 yards passing to Kirk Cousins 2 weeks ago. Still a game that Tampa should have won, in my opinion. I think they try to sell out to stop Derrick Henry. We saw Cincy do that a couple of weeks ago, but you can't really stop Derrick Henry. If you want to sell out and play that game, you can, but you're going to open up tons of other holes on your defense. And we saw that's what happened to the Bengals as well. Baltimore's proven they can throw when they need to if teams do load up on Henry. So it's just a really difficult game to play, if you're Tampa Bay. Do you sell out and try to stop the run? Okay, then you're leaving guys open in the secondary. Do you try to split the difference? Well, then Derrick Henry's going to run all over you. Ultimately, it's a bet against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, which has looked really, really shaky over the last couple of weeks. So I think we could get points here, but I like Baltimore to win this game by a touchdown.
Hello.
You're up, Bill. I can hear you.
You muted, Jim?
I think Jim's throwing me off there.
Oh, I must have thrown you off. Yep. I must have got muted somehow. Bill, go right ahead and talk about the over and under on the Tampa Bay Baltimore game.
I'll take my Steeler head off since I'm talking about the Ravens. I don't want to disrespect anyone. Nick, as always, very astute. He's correct. I actually do like the Ravens in this game with that line moving to 3.5. That's a great line for them. My favorite stat in this game is that 2 years ago, the Ravens went to Tampa on a Thursday night. I think they won the game like 20-9 or something. It was a very low-scoring game. Less than 12 hours later, news broke that Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen were divorced. That was a great game. I was there. Brady played terrible. Now we know why. Or actually, hell, he could have been happy. Who knows? Maybe he was so happy, he was euphoric, he couldn't focus on the game. You never can tell. I like where Nick was going with the Ravens. They're going to run the ball. Lamar Jackson's going to run the ball. Derrick Henry's going to run the ball. They're going to eat up a lot of clock. They're going to take a lot of time on these drives. They want to keep Baker Mayfield off the field. The Bucs can't run at all. I'm not so sure they can stop the run. I think this is going to be kind of a come-down game for them. And I will say, I don't think you're going to see 3 interceptions by Baker, which, again, I think is going to limit the point totals. You limit the turnovers, you limit the points. This number is actually moved up to 49, which I like. I hope it goes to 50. I just don't see the Bucs being able to score to put up enough numbers to where you're going to get to a 48 or a 49 here. Whereas I think if the Ravens get a comfortable lead, they could run the second half almost like a running clock. If they're able to move the ball, they'll just take the win and leave. But I think you'll get your cover there. I don't see the Bucs even winning this one on the back door. I think the Ravens win it straight up, and I think it'll be a low-scoring game.
Adam, we both like the Lions. Kick us off.
Yeah, Minnesota, going to Minnesota. Minnesota's undefeated. They're legit. Sam Darnold is looking great. Aiden Hutchinson's gone for the year. That's obviously a huge blow. But, this Lions team is still pretty good. They still have playmakers on defense. Dan Campbell's going to get them fired up, going to get them ready. The offense has scored 42 and 47 points the last 2 weeks. Vikings ranked 30th against the pass this year. It's tough to run on them, but I think if any team can, Detroit has the personnel to force Minnesota to put to pay attention to that run. They've been able to do it, but this Detroit Lions offense is just clicking on all cylinders. Baron Jones doesn't play. That's a big deal. I don't care about Cam Akers. Hawkinson, my guess is they're going to sit him one more week just to make sure he's healthy. So if he's not there, if Jones isn't there, this game could feature a lot of points. But I think you're getting points with the most prolific offense in the league. It's still in a dome. Jared Goff is fine on the road. I like Detroit.
Sam Darnold's been a great story this year, but in the last 6 quarters, kind of quietly, he's starting to regress a bit, starting to make some mistakes. Even when he was going well, he was making some mistakes and getting away with them. Now it's been a little. They're still winning, but you notice the holes that are coming there, and it's a problem. And he's not getting Jefferson the ball enough. 6 to 8 targets a game, that's not enough for Jefferson. All that said, the Lions are in trouble without Aiden Hutchinson. I'm not going to make anything about that. That pass rush is all revolved around him. They play one of the higher rates of man coverage in the league. And when you get a good pass rush, you don't have to cover as long. That's a potential problem. But I think this is a week where the Lions rally around that loss. They're an emotional type team. Their coach is very emotional. They're going to play this one for Hutchinson, but that's going to wear off over time. Not this week though. Offensively, the Vikings have been a great defense this year. But the Lions have an edge. The Lions faced Brian Flores twice last year. Now, a little different personnel this year, but a lot of the same concepts. They're used to that. They're used to disguised looks. They know what they're getting. I think that's a tactical advantage for offensive coordinator Ben Johnson here. And remember, Jamison Williams is now a part of that offense. That speed element he adds, that puts a level of stress on defense the Lions were not able to utilize last year. That flips a whole lot of favorable situations toward the Lions. So look, the Lions are probably a good money line better. They're getting 2.5. Take the points if you're comfortable, but realistically, they have a great chance of winning this one outright. All right, let's get these picks recap for the week as I go to present this. But let's get our final thoughts, and then I get the slide on the screen. So, Bill, do you have any final thoughts on the week for us?
Yes, I do. My home state, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, set a record for sports betting in September, $678 million, despite the fact that the Patriots and Red Sox were terrible. DraftKings and FanDuel had about a 12% hold, which is because the Red Sox and Patriots were terrible. So I'm very proud of my fellow Bay Staters, and it just sort of warms my heart.
Adam Thompson, closing thoughts.
Road favorites last week went, I think, 9-0 against the spread and straight up. They all won. They all covered. Just an interesting, trend. I like the Eagles this week, -3 on the road. So didn't mention them here, but I'm mentioning them now.
Nick Whalen, final thoughts.
Yeah, I'll just note that we've seen a sharp uptick in scoring over the last couple of weeks. I believe overs were 10-4 last week. Honestly, felt like it should have been higher. We bottomed out in week 2 when the 16 games averaged 39.6 total points between the two teams. So that's 634 total points between 16 games. Over the last 3 weeks, those numbers have jumped up to 45.6, 48.9, and then 49.2 was the average combined score in week 6. So we had more points on the board. We had like 50 more points on the board in week 6 than we did in week 2 when we had 2 more games. So like to see that from a fan perspective, from a watchability perspective, scoring seems to be back.
My last thought is the trades this week. It was interesting how we see Devontae Adams go to the Jets, and then very soon after, the Bills, same division, they come in and they add Amari Cooper. That's an interesting move. But this division, adding those 2 players just got better. Say what you will about the Jets, but Devontae Adams is obviously a net plus. And then, of course, there's the talk that maybe Tua Tagovailoa comes back in week 8. Now, the Dolphins may be kind of out of things by then, but even if they're not, that makes them more interesting. The AFC East could be really, really, really fun to watch in the second half of the season. All right, everyone, this has been the Bookies Plus weekly gambling show. Be sure to bookmark bookies.com/picks so you can check out our free picks for both NFL and every other sport. There will also be a new episode every Wednesday for the remainder of the NFL season. We will catch you next week.